So Zero Skull says Brian Greene is a charlatan. Thank you, Zero Skull. I appreciate that.
It's the ZERØ Show episode Ich bin ein Nerd, made with milk from endangered Javan rhinos. Build a physical, real Penrose staircase. Learn, if you must explain a joke, it ain't funny. Explore quantum physics with MINESWEEPER. Discover Zelda 2 sucks. Hear nerd jokes for actual nerds. See the reflected light from a piano keyboard. See a basic animal construct in a geometric manifold. And more. I might always be wrong. Hey, hi. Everybody, I guess that's just you. But you'll be gone in a second too, because this is the most underground show in the world, and this episode is for nerds. And odds are you're not a nerd. And then, to make sure that people who are only people who are nerds actually do watch this show, how many geeks does it take to make a nerd? It takes 2, but they have to copulate, so it ain't happening. What are geeks doing when they're not pretending to be nerds? They're over at the circus sideshow biting heads off chickens. A geek, a dweeb, a dork, a weenie, and a nerd are walking down the street, and they spot a beautiful bottom. The dork says gluteus. The dweeb says maximum gluteus. The geek says gluteus maximus. The weenie says, well, actually, I'm pretty sure that the plural, there's 2 of them, so you want the plural, I'm pretty sure that's glutei maximi. The geek, the dork, and the dweeb make fun of the weenie for correcting them. The weenie turns to the nerd, and the nerd says, those are buttocks. Glutes are on the inside. See, now everybody's gone. Let's get on with the show. That's a reflection of sunlight off of this object over here. And the object over here that I'm waving my fingers in front of right now, causing these distortions, is a piano keyboard. That is the keyboard of a piano, sunlight reflecting off of the keyboard and hitting the ceiling. I do not play the piano, and I'm not going to pretend to be able to play the piano, and I'm not going to touch a key. This is not my piano. I'm just holding my hands over the keys, wiggling my fingers, moving my fingers stably, wiggling my fingers and moving. And that's a piano keyboard. Hey, let's play Minesweeper and think about quantum mechanics. Let's assume that this whole thing is a wave. And there are particles that are composed of the wave, but we don't know where they are because we haven't done any measurements yet. So we know that there is a wave, and we can then begin to explore the wave and try to measure and figure out the position of all the particles that make up the wave, or the particles that are made up by the wave. Here's one space. This is a state. There's one particle associated to this state, and we don't know where it is. It's in one of these 3 spaces, and the only way to figure out which of these 3 spaces it is in is to guess. It's not in that one, and it's not in that one. Lucky. That was just wild luck, blind guess. Okay, so then we've got one space here, and we know that, or one state here, and we know that there's one particle associated to it, and so there's only one space where it could possibly be, and that is this one. These ones both have one, are a state that has one, and one particle associated to them. This particle is already there, so both of these spaces and both of these spaces must be empty. And then these ones also associate to one, so not only must this one space be open, but these 3 spaces and these 3 spaces must also be open. Boom, and it just opened up wide. And then there's one particle associated to this state, one particle to this state, one particle to this state. and there's one particle right there that is the only one that these two can be associated, or one point where these two can be associated to that can be a particle. This one has two associated to it, but since 2 out of 3 are associated to this one, and the only possible way they can when they can be associated to is this one, we'll say that that one is the particle. And then we can double check by just opening that, and we see that yes, there is no particle there, and this one is already associated, or this state is already associated to this particle, so this point must just be open space. And then we've got one here, and then we know that the particle is there, so this must just be noise. Here's wave associated to one point. We know that one of these is a particle, and we know that this one can only possibly be associated to this particle, or to this point, so this must be the particle. This must be noise, and this must be noise, but then this one must be a particle again, because this one is associated to 1. And now we have to make another wild guess. Now, if this one has 2 and 2, and then we 2 and 1, I'm going to assume that there's 1 right here, and I was wrong. And so, until you measure, you don't know where the particle is, but the whole wave is not the particle. It's just a wave, and then you have to measure the density of the wave at every point, and you find out where particles are and where particles are not. So the highest score I've seen at Game & Watch, Legend of Zelda Game & Watch, Vermin Game C, is this person Tom Stambo's score of 310 points. They've done a demonstration gameplay up to 121 points. Go Tom Stambo, that's pretty good. And I just got a score of 332, and I want to, and I did that because I had seen Tom Stambo's score. I knew that I had to get something better than that, and so I strove to, and I really pushed it to get above 310. And I do hope that Tom Stambo or anybody else who feels like they can, I really hope they want to come along and try to beat me. Because I am not the best. I'm just the best so far. Okay, so what I've got here is 3 sides of a square. I've got them on double-sided tape, which is going to be stuck to this square. These are made of paper towels. You can use, I don't know, poster board, pasteboard, cereal box material, if you like, whatever's convenient. I'm using paper towels because it was right there, and it's a nice pliant substance that is also very stably plush and fluffy. So I've got definite levels. It would be harder to see if it was just paper, and I don't have convenient pasteboard line. Well, I've got like notebook covers, and I could cut those up, I guess. And here's cover for this little notepad there. But yeah, you can use anything. I just happen to be using paper towels. What I did was I took 3 paper towels, and I cut a square from each one. Then I cut half a square. Yeah, then I cut half a square. I guess I did use 4 because I want to put this square last. But I essentially used 3 paper towels. I cut 2 of them into squares like this. Then I cut the other section, which is less than a square. But it's more than half of the square, and then I had to cut those into exactly half the width of the square to get the which are essentially the width of these sections. I started with squares. I cut the squares into halves. Then I had, ostensibly, I had 2 squares left over. I cut 1 square in half, and I then Wait, I took one square and I cut it into 4 strips, and I wound up with these. Then I took the other square and cut it in half, and I cut 1/2 into 4 strips, and I wound up with these. These are quarters. And then I took the last part and cut it in half, which left me with a quarter, which gave me 4 of these strips. Can we see the different layers there? Yeah. Okay, so then that's 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. And so then I got 4 steps, half, quarter, 1/8, 1/16, for my Penrose staircase. I used double-sided tape. I have a different kind of double-sided tape on the back, which I split in the middle there so that I can peel one part and leave the other part covered, so that I can tape them together to each other, and then in the end tape them to the base plane, which is that. So then I've got double-sided tape on each of these, on the first step, the second step, and the top step, which is going to lay on top, and that's going to be sandwiched in between. It's going to be placed onto that tape, and this tape is going to be placed on it, and it has no tape on it. For some reason, making stuff, making movies, getting a shot completed, it makes me say, wee. Like I really have fun doing this. Oh boy. Then we got this bit, and this goes on top of, you see I've got the edge pretty much even there. Then we've got this, we want to get it square with that, and then carry it across and do our best to keep it even with the whole thing. As I mentioned, paper towels are very pliant and malleable, and you can change the shape of them without destroying or tearing them. And so you can get a, that's not quite even. Can we peel it? Can we peel it? Ah. No. Wait. Yes. Tiniest bit. Ah. There. It's a bit more even there. Okay. And this one, I actually, you can see the full width of the tape. This is half of that. I actually took 1/16 and another 16th and put them, taped them both to the tape, and then I cut that in half. And then this is, this tape actually doesn't like to stick to this paper, I guess. Paper towel paper. Oh boy. Yay. And we've got that peeled. And then we lay that to that and do our best, like, to lay it on there evenly, aligned with the rest of the paper towels or whatever kind of paper you use if you should happen to choose to build one of these. Okay, there we go. Now I have 4 of these, so then I peel the backing from this and this. There we go. And then, of course, doing our best to keep it square and even, we place this to this, and this to this. Sticking out just a little bit. I can live with that. And the important thing is that it is square to this, because it has to sit on this. And we can see already that that's not going to quite work. I have already screwed it up. Can we pick it up? Can we pick it up? Not really. No? Can you peel apart? No, you can't. Okay. Well, I guess I'm stuck with that. It's glue. Stuck. Okay, so then we peel apart this one. And this one. How's that? And that? Is that pretty even? Is that going to be able to sit on this? Mostly. Okay. Then we've got this one. And this one. Peel from this end. And we place that one even to that. And we try to get it to the corner, and we try to get the sides to meet. And we do our best, even if it isn't perfect. Then we peel this last one, which was the first one. Yay. Oh my. And it looks like it's going to work. Looks like. It is an important and popular fact, Douglas Adams reminded us, that things are not always as they seem. So though it may seem like it's going to work, it might not. Okay. And we're going to try to line up at this corner. And carry it. And carry it. And that looks like it's going to fit. Looks like it's going to fit. Looks good. Yeah. Last edge. Looks like it's going to be all right. Looks right. Yeah. I should have peeled this off first. Can we pull that back a little and get the corner of this? And just there we go. And then, and you see we've got the step. Then we cut out the center using scissors. go. Let go. Let go. Ah. And there you've got your Penrose staircase. Step, 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 step. Come across, step, step. Anyway, it always steps up or always steps down. There. 1 second faster again. On ZERØ school, I've just gotten 63 seconds at MINESWEEPER Intermediate. Okay? And now I've gotten 51 seconds at MINESWEEPER Intermediate stage. Now I've just gotten down to 46 seconds. Improving and improving. So on July 5, comedian Bill Burr did a bit about Neil deGrasse Tyson. It's made up of about 12 jokes, rapid fire. It takes about a minute. Let's hear that.
Memorize things that Neil deGrasse Tyson says to plumbers. Hundreds of videos. Is it me, or is that guy never talking to scientists? He's always talking to some meathead like me that's like, wow, Neil, you're really smart. I want to see Neil talk to another scientist. I guarantee you the guy's going, shut the fuck up, Neil. All right, I'm not some rube you found at a bus stop. All right, this isn't a podcast, all right? We're in the lab, motherfucker! Oh, you want to take out a graduated cylinder and show me what you got? Huh? Neil? Why do I know your middle name? Like you fucking invented something? You know what you invented? Talking to people way dumber than you are so you can seem smart and get some fucking celebrity pussy. That's what you're doing, Neil. Meanwhile, I'm in the fucking lab. No one knows my name. I'm out here curing shit. The fuck did you do during COVID?
And I was fine with letting that thing slide, but then it has that accusation about COVID, like as though Neil did absolutely nothing for nobody during COVID. So I decided to produce a response to that bit. I've broken it down. It's made up of 12 jokes, or 12 statements that could be construed as jokes, I guess. Neil deGrasse Tyson talks to plumbers in hundreds of videos, and things he says to plumbers are not really worth anyone's time to learn. That's joke 1. Joke 2. Neil deGrasse Tyson never talks to scientists. That's joke. Okay. Yeah, that's joke 2. Joke 3. Neil deGrasse Tyson is always talking to people like Bill Burr. Joke 4. Neil deGrasse Tyson works as an educator, not to educate others, but to be seen as smarter than others. If all of these jokes are falling flat, it's because they're not funny jokes. If you have to explain a joke, it isn't funny, so actually, in explaining it, I'm actually removing all of the funniness from it. Must be having a geomagnetic storm, as my geomagnetic storm detector just went off. Bill Burr wants to see Neil deGrasse Tyson talking to other scientists and guarantees they are all guys who will tell Neil deGrasse Tyson to shut up. It's joke number 6. Neil deGrasse Tyson seeks out rubes at bus stops like a street magician, and people at bus stops are rubes. Joke number 7. Neil deGrasse Tyson is a scientist who doesn't know his way around a lab. Number 8. That we know Neil deGrasse Tyson's middle name means he is pretentious and wants people to think he's an inventor. Joke number 9. Neil deGrasse Tyson invented being a teacher. Joke number 10. Neil deGrasse Tyson shares his middle name to be seen as smart and to get some celebrity skin. He used a different word. I'm going with skin. Joke number 11. Chemists in labs are striving for fame. That was the joke. Meanwhile, I'm in a lab. Nobody knows my name. I'm out here curing shit. That's the complaint, is that chemists in labs are striving for fame. That's the joke. Joke 12. Neil deGrasse Tyson is a medical researcher who did nothing for nobody throughout the pandemic. Hilarious stuff. So I wrote out these responses to Bill Burr's 12 jokes. Statements that are put together as a comedy bit that should be composed of jokes. Number 1, there are not hundreds of videos of Neil deGrasse Tyson talking to plumbers. They just aren't. And things that Neil deGrasse Tyson has said to plumbers are actually probably memorable and worth thinking about. Because, he's a teacher. He's teaching people stuff. You know, like when a teacher says something, learn it. Neil deGrasse Tyson has a show called Star Talk and usually has a scientist guest on and always defers to experts outside his field of astrophysics. Number 3. Neil deGrasse Tyson is a teacher and teaches people like Bill Burr to understand and think about things competently. Joke 4, response to joke 4, Neil deGrasse Tyson is a teacher, not to seem smart, but to help people like Bill Burr learn. Number 5, Bill Burr can watch Neil deGrasse Tyson talk to other scientists as he says he wants to by doing a simple web search. I'll say Googling, in case Bill Burr doesn't know what a web search is. 6, Neil deGrasse Tyson does not seek out rubes, nor does he try to misrepresent science just to impress people. Number 7, Neil deGrasse Tyson is not a chemist or a pharmaceutical chemist, but an astrophysicist. The entire universe is his lab. You're in his lab right now! Number 8, we know Neil deGrasse Tyson's middle name, not because knowing a scientist's middle name means that they invented something, like how we all know Thomas Edison's middle name. We know George Washington Carver's middle name, I know that one, but James West, we don't know his middle name. Oh my gosh, I was thinking of an inventor. We don't know the middle names of most inventors, really. I can't think of one off the top of my head because I don't know one. But we know Neil deGrasse Tyson's middle name because there is another physicist named Neil Tyson. Like how we know director Wes Paul Anderson's middle name because there's another director named Wes Anderson. And you don't want to confuse people about who you are referring to and who in fact you are. Bill Burr's middle name is Frederick. Why do we know that? Because I just told you it's actually not a thing that's common knowledge. But what, did he invent something? I know his middle name. Also, though he didn't invent it, he did discover a celestial alignment between the sun and New York City called Manhattan Henge, which attracts tens to hundreds of thousands of people to New York City twice a year, giving a minuscule boost to the transportation, tourism, and hospitality industries, which are actually major industries in New York, with transportation being number 1 and tourism being number 4. like, New York is really dependent on tourists, and it's dependent on transporting people to places in the city of New York, really. Also, a pretentious, self-important scientist doesn't tell people their middle name. They say, "Call me Doctor. I didn't spend 8 years at evil medical school to be called Mr. Evil." They say, "Call me Doctor." Most people who actually say, "Call me Doctor," aren't actually a doctor, by the way. I often call scientists doctor because I know that they are doctors. Like, I call Neil deGrasse Tyson sometimes Dr. Neil Tyson. An entirely different person, Dr. Neil Tyson. Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson. I refer to Carl Sagan as Dr. Carl Sagan. I refer to scientists who have doctorates as doctors. I don't refer to Eric Weinstein as a doctor, even though he does have a PhD, but that's just the thing. Number 9, teachers tell things to people who don't know those things, not to seem smart, but so that the people who don't know those things can know those things. It's amazing. It's education. Number 10, Neil deGrasse Tyson is happily married and is not seen chasing celebrity skin. Number 11, scientists in labs are seeking lab results. They are not seeking fame, as far as I know. And what did Neil do during COVID? He kept his audience informed, scientifically aware, and trusting of the medical fields. He also employed numerous comedians for his show who might otherwise have had to go stand around in crowded comedy clubs, potentially getting infected or even getting infected by or even passing infections along to their audiences. So he was able to get those people on his show and thereby get their audiences to learn stuff. Not one bit of, or not one observation in that bit has anything to do with Neil deGrasse Tyson, it seems. Oh, if you want to pick on Neil deGrasse Tyson, a fun thing to do, he has a paper, it was his first published paper, published in 1997, called On Being Round, and in it he mentions that a bubble will always be a sphere, but that disregards the interface between two bubbles, and you'll never see a flat bubble, is what he said, but the space between two bubbles is perfectly flat. That's round, and the space between them is perfectly flat. And he also said you will never see a cubic bubble. If you take 6 perfectly round bubbles and put them all together in a bunch, and then put a 7th bubble in the center, you will see a cubic bubble, and you can actually see that by looking up Noddy Bubble Magic.
He said bubbles are always round. He said a bubble cube would be impossible. Yeah, he was studying physics, but he had an incomplete understanding of that science. Many of us have, yes. The physics major told me a bubble cube would be impossible. Did you get an A for that, George? You know what that is? That's it. Nothing's impossible. 50 years of the work.
It's really cool to watch bubbles. It's really crazy. But yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson said you will never see a cubic bubble, but if you actually go look at people who work with bubbles, you'll see cubic bubbles. But it's pretty easy to pick on Neil correctly and not to just say that everything he says and does is nonsense. I've just gotten 490 points at Game C on Vermin, Legend of Zelda, Vermin Game C, and have lost at 490 points. And we can see, go back to Game C, that I have indeed gotten 490 points. So this is one of my hyperpyramids, and this is actually my favorite fold that it can go into. You see it's got like 2 sections of a body. It's got a head end and a tail end. It has opening and closing mouth part there. On the mouth. It has parts that could compensate for eyes. inside the mouth we have a space here where you can keep food, and then there's a secondary space back here, which I realize it's difficult to see to like figure out what layer you're in, and I wish I had done this in various colors. It's got these parts that could be like fins. See, mouth is closed. It's got this internal space here. You see, which can open and close. It's got this structure on the back that's a bit like a dorsal fin, and it's got a space there that could, hold a brain. It's got a space here that can fold back and allow waste to pass through into a rectum, and it's got an opening there, and it can drain its rectum. So you've got the basic construct of a complex life form, just out of, I guess it's not simple geometry, but it's just a geometric structure. It's just a not too overly complicated geometric structure, which is a hyperpyramid. It can fold down into a pyramid, and along with the fish construct, one second, it can also form into this thing, which has legs. It has 2 legs on each side. It has all those same structures as the other one. It has a mouth space. It has internal organ structures. It has a musculoskeletal system. And it's just a basic construct of what could be a life form made out of not too complicated geometry. I mean, I guess it's a little bit complicated, but not too complicated. It's just a hyperpyramid that I built. Mash it flat so you can see the basic structure of it. But yeah, it's just a not too complicated geometric structure that is able to become a pyramid and fold into things that are similar in structure to life forms. Weird. Okay, now I've gotten 42 seconds at intermediate MINESWEEPER. Still nowhere close, but geez. It's like I've gotten a hell of a lot faster. So this is my Legend of Zelda Game & Watch. When you turn it on, the Triforce on the back lights up. Focus. See? Boom. Boom. Been playing the various games on it. I played Zelda 2 when I was 14 years old, and I hated it. And now I'm playing it again. I have 0 lives remaining, you see. My life is full, my magic is full. And you see I have 8,950 hit points. And I've been stuck down here amassing hit points so I can build up extra lives. And this is how that works. It won't. What it actually does, you see, is it gives me an extra life because I have all of my, everything is maxed out. So to get extra lives, I have to level up. And I need at least 3 more extra lives. And the only way I can do that, I'm not playing this with a walkthrough, I'm just going through, and I wound up in what seems to be a bad place. And now I have 1 life left. And 10 hit points. And this is what I have to do to level up. Ooh, I got a 50-point bag. Or to get extra lives, not level up. Yeah, half the time this game is like squatting and poking a mud puddle with a stick. And half the time it's like trying to fight bees with a broomstick. And just in getting to this, this is the final dungeon, the final palace, just getting here actually cost me 6 lives. And I don't mean playing through the game I lost 6 lives, I mean just getting here. There's a road called the Valley of Death, and it's called that because it will kill you. And just walking that, I lost 6 lives. This is like the worst, most ridiculously hard Zelda game of all. Shigeru Miyamoto, who created Zelda and designed or worked with the designers of pretty much every Zelda game, said that this was his one bad game, and I agree very, 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 very much. He said something along the lines of what went on paper went into the game and there wasn't really any testing done. And that really shows. And then here's another interesting manifold manipulation of that same shape. Things like, I don't know, it's like transforming. It just keeps, it's very malleable. Well, that was the show. I hope you had a good time with it. I don't think you're still watching, but this is how the show ends. Have fun.
So Zero Skull says Brian Green is a charlatan. Thank you, Zero Skull. I appreciate that.
My green story.